Thank you for tuning in to Roll Call. The movie selected is Maid in Manhattan.
Hey everyone, welcome to Roll Call, the show where two childless millennials gush over movies and follow an actor's journey from their early years through their blockbuster hits.
Because let's face it, we miss Blockbuster.
Yes, we sure do. And I was actually wondering if back in the day anyone had rented a movie from a nearby Blockbuster in Manhattan and watched it at the Belford Hotel, aka the Waldorf Astoria. Do you think?
I would have totally rented Home Alone 2 and watched it at that was at the Waldorf too, right? Or the Ritz?
No, it wasn't the Ritz.
The Plaza.
The Plaza. Yeah.
The Plaza. Yes, I would have totally done that. Or like Eloise at the Plaza. I'm sure tons of moms and daughters did that.
Hell yeah.
What's up, guys? I'm Bria, and I think Ty should have been listening to a J-Lo album instead of The Best of Bread.
And I'm Simone, and I am relieved to say that I am in the clear to have a little bit of a crush on Tyler Posey, the actor, the Teen Wolf actor who plays Ty in the movie. Whew, what a relief.
Yes, you will not be going to jail for crushing on him. So in today's episode, we'll chat about Jennifer Lopez, and I have a feeling maybe a little bit of Tyler Posey because we watched the romantic comedy Maid in Manhattan. So let's take a little trip back to December 13th of 2002.
So I know we had touched a little bit on when we had covered the last movie enough about some of the things that were happening earlier in the year of 2002. Bria, did you find anything nuanced about what was happening in December, more towards the end of the year in 2002?
Well, no, I didn't narrow my search down to December, but I tried to find some stuff we didn't talk about. So, start off a little in memoriam because Lisa Left Eye Lopez passed away in 2002 in a car crash in Honduras. So, RIP Left Eye. Also, Jam Master Jay, the DJ of Run DMC, hip hop legend, was murdered in his studio in, I want to say, Brooklyn, New York. In lighter news, on TV, some major television series, American Idol, which is like such a cultural mainstay now, premieres this year. Also, we have Maid from MTV.
Yes.
Like, who didn't want to be on that show as a teenager?
Yes.
Can you guess who might have been the sexiest man alive in 2002?
Okay, 2002. Okay. I think the sexiest man alive in the last one we were talking about was Brad Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
So for 2002, usually it has something to do with like things that are big. And it wouldn't have gone to Simon Cowell because he was not. I mean, okay, can you give me a hint?
It's a very relevant person to this podcast.
Oh, is it Ben Affleck?
Yeah. Yes. And at this time, him and Jennifer Lopez were definitely an item. So I feel like that bumped up his stock a tremendous amount.
But sure.
Yes, Mr. Ben Affleck is the sexiest man alive of 2002. And in celebrity scandal news, we have none other than a legend herself, Winona Ryder. This is the major scandal where she steals like $5,000 worth of stuff from Sex with Anna.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I totally forgot about that. But I remember how big in the news it was because there were like two aspects of it. There were, several aspects to it of like, what kind of state is she in to be stealing and what her punishment would have been to be caught stealing from something like that. And I felt so bad.
So her punishment was 3 years probation, 480 hours of community service, and $3,700 in fines, $6,355 in restitution, in order to attend psychological and drug counseling after being found guilty. I feel like Winona is like the gateway to all of the other like young women who just mentally broke into the 2000s. Like, Queen Britney, Lindsay
Mm-hmm.
Lohan, the list goes on and on.
Seriously.
But yeah, this was like the first major, like, skirt, what's going on?
The early aughts were brutal. Like, I felt like it is a blessing from above that you and I have, and a lot of our friends have made it through. However, I feel like there was so much early trauma that has shaped our like very dark sense of humor
Yeah.
and outlook on life that was happening during this time. But yeah, in terms of being a celebrity in this time, J-Lo pretty came out of it unscathed, but it was really difficult for a lot of, well, I wouldn't
Ye-
maybe unscathed, but like, you know what I mean?
Well, I just think she was a different kind of celebrity at that point too. And JLo is very infamously a dry celebrity. She doesn't really drink. She doesn't do drugs. So
Yeah.
she wasn't really in that scene of things, just like
Mhm.
Julia Roberts wasn't. But I think in words to that, like, I'm amazed that a lot of them are still alive and here with us. Like, the fact that we didn't have like a big kind of, not a big, but like a lot of deaths of these younger celebrities, a la in like the 70s when drugs became a huge thing with a lot of the teen stars of that time.
Mhm.
People like, what's her last name? Dana Plato, I think, from Different Strokes, and just like those kinds of teen stars where they just like got lost in the sauce, and a lot of them didn't make it out.
Mhm.
So the fact that like Britney Spears and Lindsay Lohan and X, Y, and Z are still on this earth and walking and talking and living, like, that's amazing. So
Yeah, yeah. And I don't know. I feel like I know this is a little off topic, but the two biggest kind of celebrity OD deaths or deaths that had to do it's something around drugs that stick out in my mind are Brittany Murphy and Heath Ledger.
mhm.
But I don't know, do you remember anyone else who had that like partying lifestyle and
Well, a little later, like Corey Monteith from Glee.
yeah,
Um,
that's true.
yeah, Heath Ledger was big
Oh,
though.
so
And then Brittany
sad.
Murphy is like, so I just watched a thing on her death. It's like so like not concrete, like really why she died. Like, it's so
Yes.
suspicious.
There's some really
Um,
good conspiracy theory podcasts about the like mysterious circumstances shrouding her death. Poor
yeah, her
thing.
and her husband, like,
Yeah.
so weird. Which, I mean, in a weird way, Britney Spears lived in that house that Brittany Murphy died in,
Uh-huh.
and she sold it to her because she felt the vibes were off. So
Yes. Yeah.
who
And I
knows what would
wanted
happen to Britney Spears?
Ooh. I wonder, okay, I do want to add a correction from last week. That movie that we were talking about with the I'll Never Tell, that one
Huh?
that came out. So that was Brittany Murphy and she was an escape not an es yeah, she was like an escaped insane asylum person who had like kidnapped her psychiatrist's kid, I think.
I'm gonna have to rewatch that.
I know, I
I
want to
didn't.
rewatch that too. She was
I
scary as
didn't know that
shit.
was her.
Mhm.
Wow, little Brittany Murphy sidetrack. R.I.P. Brittany Murphy,
R.I.P.
because you're still relevant in our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
Um, all right, so moving on. In other scandal, Michael Jackson dangled Prince Michael
Oh
II
boy.
off a balcony from a Berlin hotel room, earning him the nickname Blanket. And I just remember that being all over magazines and just everywhere. And people obviously questioning Michael's sanity and his
Hmm.
wherewithal. That was huge. Um, yeah,
Is this the age that we get the nickname Jacko?
Jacko. I think so, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and then, as I love to talk about, or I feel like you have now crowned me, music news. So some major things musically. Avril Lavigne makes her debut in 2002.
And where would Hot Topic in Dicky's pants be without this little punk bitch?
Yes, and oddly so, she is crowned the anti-Britney, which is like another like, do we really have to pit women against women? But so that is major for tweens and dweebies all over. Um,
Hmm.
Alicia Keys wins 5 Grammys for her first album, not the Diary of Alicia Keys. God, no, songs in A minor. My bad. I should know. I just bought this album on vinyl, and it's like the only Alicia Keys album I really love. Eminem's The Eminem Show is the top selling album of the year. And 1,000 Miles by Vanessa Carlton blesses our eardrums. Where would we be if we could not walk 1,000 miles?
And make our way downtown, walking fast,
Yes.
faces fast as we're homebound.
Yeah. And then I found this super interesting just because of there's so many gems in this list. But so number one songs of 2002. And this is like kind of chronologically in order. So starting from December of 2001 through January. And then each is like a month span kind of. So first off is You Got It Bad by Usher.
So good.
How You Remind Me by Nickelback. Okay, this segment right here is like what made me have to list like the whole list. All
Okay.
right, so Always on Time, Ja Rule featuring Ashanti.
Mhm.
Ain't It Funny, Jennifer Lopez featuring Ja Rule. Foolish by Ashanti. Hot in Here by Nelly. Dilemma featuring Kelly Rowland and Nelly. Then we have A Moment Like This featuring Kelly Clarkson, which makes absolute sense because American Idol.
Mhm.
And then Lose Yourself by Eminem, which makes even more sense because he has the top album of the year, which
Mhm.
is at the end of 2002 into 2003.
Mhm.
So amazing musical moments. I find it really interesting. Like obviously the Ja Rule, Ashanti, Jennifer Lopez connection, and then the Ashanti Nelly connection because they dated for a while.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yes, not at this time, but later. But I was like, oh, isn't that ironic? And now we get to what we are here for because this is not a music podcast. Movies in December of 2002. Some big names, really. Like man, I would have had a hard time being a moviegoer, or I would have just lived at the movies. But
Yeah.
Chicago.
Uh-huh. Definitely saw that in the theater.
Catch Me If You Can.
Yep.
Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers.
Okay.
Antoine Fisher.
Uh-huh.
Gangs of New York.
Yes.
Drumline.
Uh-huh.
The Hot Chick.
Okay.
2 Weeks Notice. And then, of course, Maiden Manhattan. 2 Weeks Notice is with Hugh Grant and blanking.
Was it also a rom-com?
Yes.
Okay.
But yes. So those are the movies that are surrounding the lovely Maiden Manhattan as it released in December of 2002.
Damn.
And yes, which I just want to say, notable number is that is that month. Maiden Manhattan is the third highest grossing movie.
Not bad, because Chicago won the Oscar, I think, for Best Film that year. And it was the first time that a musical had won Best Film. I mean, if we're not counting Beauty and the Beast, I don't know, but that was a huge takeaway that year. So that's incredible.
Yeah, and then like obviously Gangs in New York, it's like such a like serious movie, like wow. And then Catch Me If You Can is a huge movie too for Leo and Tom Hanks. So J-Lo, I'm impressed.
Yeah.
All right. So because Made in Manhattan is the third highest grossing film of December, Simone, how much money did Made in Manhattan make?
Yes, well, certainly it makes sense why it would be the highest gross or the third highest grossing film in December because it did very well in the box office. This movie had a estimated budget at $55 million. On its opening weekend in December, it made $18.7 million. but with a total US gross of 94 million and a worldwide gross of 154.9. So let's just round that up to $155 million.
Wow.
So what, like $100 million profit from that movie? Not bad.
So, I think so. So far, this might be JLo's biggest movie.
It might be, yeah.
Wow.
Wow. It's impressive, J-Lo. We're proud of you.
All right. Well, despite its monetary success, let's get into critical success or lack thereof.
Okay, so the reviews are in now. I want to also save some space for how we felt, which of course we'll get into with Pumps of Butter. Lil Raj had some thoughts on this movie. Bria, would you like to take a guess on the amount of stars Lil Raj gave this movie?
Don't know. Especially after enough, like 1.5. Wow. I'm gonna say Little Raj gave it in the range of 2 to 3 stars.
You are correct. Lil Raj gave this a solid 3 stars.
All right.
Yeah, all around not bad. So here were some of his like highlighting thoughts that I wanted to bring to life. He, of course, brings up the fact, like, he always kind of starts his reviews by talking about the general kind of plot and storytelling arc. So it definitely follows a Cinderella type of story or a fish out of water story where someone is in a position where they shouldn't be and they kind of like flop and find their way. He said this movie has things like spunk. He specifically calls it not dumb. And he damn well enjoyed it. I think he wouldn't give it 5 stars just probably because of its more lighthearted nature. It wasn't trying to be anything serious. It was just trying to be it is what it is. It was just a lighthearted romantic comedy. So some of the more specific things Lil Raj has to say, he says, it is a skillful, glossy formula picture given to life by its appeal of its stars. It has a meet cute of stunning audacity, a classic fish out of water, and fish out of water experience. Yet it goes through places with such skill and charm that, yes, I enjoyed it. And this is the part that really kind of, I think, obviously I had some thoughts and you had some thoughts that differed in opinion a little bit. And taking a step back at what you have to say and what he has to say and what some of the other critics have to say, and even what some of the actors said in their interviews, I don't want to say have changed my opinion on it, but have helped me understand why so many people like this movie or why it works for that time. So Roger says, we go to the movies for many reasons, and one of them is to see attractive people fall in love. It's not shameful. It is all right to go to a romantic comedy and not demand it a searing portrait of the way we live now. What we ask is that it's not dumb, or at least no dumber than necessary, and that it involves people who embody star quality. Maid in Manhattan is not dumb.
Wow, bravo, Little Raj. I can't say that better myself.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we know what we're getting into when we're watching a movie like this. And when I was reading other reviews, whether it was on IMDb or I really like watching reviews on Amazon when people rent a movie and they'll like leave little comments on it. A lot of people tend to say the same thing, like, for a romantic comedy, it's not bad. It's surprisingly okay and very enjoyable.
Well, I'm not going to let you get off the hook that easy because we watched this movie together because we, like some other movies that we have both previously seen already, we decided to watch this movie together. And your reaction at the end, I don't even surprised me. And take us back through your thoughts at that time, because I didn't want you to really get into it at that point because I was like, hold your horses. I don't want to spoil this. So please tell me what you were thinking.
Okay, first of all, I'm just going to make the blanket statement that I hate these kinds of movies. I don't, okay, hate is a very strong word. I dislike rom-coms. It is not what I am going to go for on a Friday night at Blockbuster. Between Maid in Manhattan and Friday the 13th, I'm going Friday the 13th. Or Maid in Manhattan and Anaconda. I'm going with Anaconda. I'm going for something that's on the scarier, thrilling side, something that is going to make me feel suspenseful or scared watching it. That to say, there have been romantic comedies that I've enjoyed and that I will kind of put aside my feelings towards. But just, I don't know. I really, really loved watching The Wedding Planner with you. We laughed a lot. I felt like there were a lot more comedic moments. And for me, Made in Manhattan just, it wasn't really a comedy to me. It just felt like more of just a straight romantic film. Boy meets girl. They fall in love quickly. A girl is guarded and they try to break it off and then they end up together. I just don't really care for that. And it's funny because I love Disney movies. I like sappy shit. I will cry at any Disney or Pixar movie. But for some reason when it's like applied to real life context, I'm just like whatever. Like insert jacking off hand thing here. But like I don't know. It just wasn't for me. There was a lot of very cringy dialogue, a lot of like awkward background music scenes where they're just kind of like lovingly, romantically looking at each other. Tyler Posey, God bless him, his first major role, and to also be working with huge actors like Ralph Fiennes and Natasha Richardson, Jennifer Lopez, fucking Stanley Tucci. Like this movie has a really, really great cast. His child acting was just like, ugh, like I don't know.
Really? I just made the most surprised face again.
I know. And he's
I feel
so
like you're torturing
cute.
me again after we watched the movie.
He's so cute, and I think he really did try his best, but I think that's just who he was. I actually, not to say that I don't think he was acting, but when I saw clips of him in like press junkets and stuff, he was acting as a kid as he was acting in the movie. So I think he was a very, very believable kid. So but I don't know. He lost me at, oh, unless your husband doesn't mind. She doesn't have a husband. I'm just like, what's your business, child?
He is only trying to look out for his mom.
I know. And that's, listen, I don't want to completely shit on this movie. It's fine. But the first thing I said, do you remember the first thing I said when the credits rolled up? I will be okay if I never see this again. And then I said, it's one step above ants. I have since retracted or retraced
I'm now shaking my head in disbelief.
I have since retraced my steps. I still said what I said in that, like, I'm fine if I never see this again. Although it's way above, it's miles above ants. If it's between ants and this, I'll take Made in Manhattan, I guess.
Wow.
All right, all right. I feel like our listeners, the thousands and millions that we definitely have by this point, are not going to be Team Simone anymore. So please, Bria, like bring it back up because you felt differently.
Well, I just want to say that I disagree with you in terms of like not agreeing with you. You might have some people who agree with you. And part of that is because I feel like whenever I do talk about doing this podcast, like I feel like I'm low-key having to defend Jennifer Lopez a lot.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll talk about that on like our bonus episode when we get into like pop culture stuff with her and stuff. But there's some JLo haters out there. Hell, one of the reviews on IMDb that I have up is I can understand Jennifer Lopez being the stupid piece of fluff that has no point, but why are the other actors in it? And this person goes on to say that three great British actors, Ralph Fiennes, Natasha Richardson, Bob Hoskins. I know they can do better than this. J-Lo was good in The Wedding Planner, but watching this movie made me realize what a lousy actress she really is.
Oh,
Which I
damn.
was just like, I just feel like that's just, you just don't like Jennifer Lopez. But
Yeah, I mean that's harsh. I don't agree with that. I think Jennifer Lopez was fine. Acting was fine. I think it's just the general it's
type
a
of
no for
movie.
me, dog, when it comes to like these kind of
American
plots.
Idol.
Yeah.
um anyways, so I don't think you're like in alone company, but yes, I do disagree with you in terms of I love a good romantic comedy. I don't watch a lot of newer ones because I feel like they don't get like the chemistry right, and it really, really feels forced lately. Like I feel like there's a lot of kind of magic that has to happen with a rom com to make it work. And I think this one definitely leans more romantic than comedy. And part of that I feel like is Ralph Fiennes
Yes.
because I think he is obviously very talented. We all know him as Lord Voldemort or what?
I'm giving a shocked face because it's very brave, he who must not be named. My students do that all the time. If I say Voldemort's name, they're like, I clutch their heart a little bit.
All right. Well, you know who. Even though,
Sorry.
like, he's been defeated at this point, so why are we scared? Um, and then obviously Schindler's List and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to talk about some stuff once we get to cast stuff. But I really like this movie. So I enjoyed there was some stuff I forgot, but I enjoyed the Cinderella-ness of it all. And I
Mhm.
think again, it's so interesting to watch them try to normalize Jennifer Lopez. This movie, she's kind of normal, but we get to see like the obvious like beauty that is there when she gets to go to the ball or the benefit. And
Mhm.
so and obviously when she's wearing the really nice outfit. But yeah, I just liked it. It
Yeah.
was like it's a fun, fluffy movie.
When you say simplify, you just mean like played down. Like it like you know like putting her in the outfit that she wears as she is the maid, where she's just more like plain looking, right?
Yeah, like she's in normal clothes, like when she's
Mhm.
taking her son to school and going to work, and then she's in a maid outfit. She doesn't have on a lot of makeup. She's in a ponytail because she's working.
Ugh,
Um,
ponytails so ugly, right? The
I mean,
audacity.
I love Jennifer Lopez in a ponytail.
I
We've
know.
definitely lauded like some of her low ponies and high ponies and all kinds of ponies. So, um, but obviously we all know she's pretty, so it's hard to be like, oh, she's just like us. Like some other actresses who are very like girl next door, like quintessential, like
Mm.
Julia Roberts or Kate Hudson. They look like chicks you might see in normal life sometime.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
but obviously they have a star quality to them that elevates them. But and I think that applies to Jennifer Lopez too. It's just I think obviously she's put in this very beautiful and poorly worded like exotic category because she's Latina. It's like, oh, like she's a different kind of beauty. Whereas, like, you can go to the Bronx in New York and find plenty of gorgeous Puerto Rican women, but
Mhm.
in Hollywood, it's like, oh, she's different. So, anyways, I don't know. Yeah.
No, no, you're right. It's a good point. I just wanted to clarify what you meant. But yeah, it's like same thing with maybe not wedding planner, but I got well, yeah, and like in enough and stuff. Like in the past couple of movies we've watched, her roles have just been pretty like she starts off as someone plain Jane, and then
Yeah.
but it is funny because we know her to be someone who is just so stunningly beautiful. You know, like I think about the movie monster where Charlize Theron is playing Eileen Wuornos, and Charlize Theron's someone who's like so, in my opinion, so incredibly beautiful,
Yeah.
but to be almost unrecognizable and like ugly for that role.
Yeah, I mean, we've all seen those Dior perfume commercials, like, but yeah, and granted, Jennifer Lopez doesn't take like a huge transformation like
Yeah.
that, where it's like she's done roles where she's gained weight or lost a lot of weight or had some like really horrendous hair or something like that. But I don't know where I'm getting at, but yeah. So how many pumps of butter are you giving Made in Manhattan?
So I made some popcorn while we were watching this. I would say like a standard, even though I made it on the stovetop, I'm saying like quantity wise, I made a standard like microwave popcorn bag's worth. So I'm going Jolly Time or a Pop Secret bag for this one. Not saying that I wouldn't give it any additional pumps of butter, but I will just do a plain full-fledged Pop Secret for this one. Does that make sense?
Well, I mean, what
okay,
does that equate to?
In movie theater popcorn terms, I'd get a small popcorn, but I'd get 2 pumps.
Okay. That's a lot of pumps for small popcorn. I'm going 4 pumps of butter. I liked this movie, and I think nostalgia is always at play with my choices. So there's that. So I would love to hear you summarize this film. You kind of did, but
I didn't type anything up, so I'm going off the dome for this one. So Maid in Manhattan is a movie about a hotel maid named Marisa Ventura, played by Jennifer Lopez. And she lives in the Bronx with her young son named Ty, played by Tyler Posey, born in 1991. So it is kosher to have a little crush on him. And we know that she's a single mom. Ty has a school speech, and we know that the dad is absent. He's in Miami for whatever reason. So he's just not really in the picture much. And so Marissa is a hotel maid who works at the very prestigious Belford Motel. And Motel. Jesus Christ. Maybe I should have typed something up. My sincerest apologies.
That's the fun part of going off the dome.
She works at a very prestigious hotel, and she takes her job very seriously. Just when she is getting ready to apply or think about applying in a managerial or management role, she gets a bit of a switcheroo mix-up happen where she is cleaning the room of Caroline Lane, played by the late and great Natasha Richardson. And Caroline Lane is kind of this like fashionista bigwig and holds a lot of like Dolce and Gabbana and really nice I'm going really long in this summary. I'm sorry. Marie. As she's cleaning her room, Marissa's friend who works with her at the hotel like persuades her to try on the Dolce & Gabbana dress that is in Caroline's closet. In walks her son, Ty, with the senator, a senatorial candidate, which I kind of took for as like a Rudy Giuliani type, like someone who would be big enough to get that kind of press, named Chris Marshall, played by Ralph Fiennes. And they have this meet cute. So Ralph Fiennes perceives Marissa to be this rich, wealthy woman staying at this hotel. And she has to kind of play the part as Caroline. They kind of hit it. Things are going well, or so they seem. And viewers are left with, will they or won't they? I feel like I really biffed that one. I apologize.
It's okay. That's the fun of the segment. If you don't trust that summary, go watch the damn movie yourself.
Yes.
I
Okay.
thought it was good.
So, all right, really quickly, just to redeem myself, feel free to keep that in as I stumble my way through that plot. It's the story of Marissa Ventura, played by Jennifer Lopez, a single mother born and bred in the boroughs of New York City, who works as a maid in a first-class Manhattan hotel. By a twist of fate and mistaken identity, Marissa meets Christopher Marshall, played by Ralph Fiennes, heir to a political dynasty who believes that she is a guest at the hotel. Fate steps in and throws the pair together for a magical night of romance. When Marissa's true identity is revealed, the two find that they are worlds apart.
This is beautiful.
Thank you.
All right, so let's talk about the cast. We mentioned that there's some pretty notable names in here. I am a huge fan of the turn of Natasha Richardson as like this bitchy upper crust lady guest of the hotel, like
Yes.
where we were watching it and you're like, is that the mom from Parent Trap? I'm like, yes, that's Natasha Richardson. And so obviously we love her in the Parent Trap and we're rooting for her. And
Mhm.
in this movie, we're kind of rooting against her.
She plays almost the Meredith in this movie, right?
Yes. She got her chance to get her Meredith Blake on. You notably noted how much you felt like Stanley Tucci was stealing the show.
I'm just a big Tucci Gang fan. There's this really, really good SNL skit that Pete Davidson raps about Tucci Gang, and it's just like giving mad props.
I've never seen that.
Oh, it's so good. I'll send you the link when we're done recording, but it's excellent. But I love Stanley Tucci. He doesn't always get like he's played multiple roles where he's front and center, but I think where he shines best, in my opinion, are these kinds because he's extra and big enough to shine in these small roles, and that's what to me is more memorable. Like a lot of people know him.
He's a scene stealer for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And so many people know him from Devil Wears Prada. He also plays a commentator in The Hunger Games.
Easy A.
He plays the dad in that. Like he's in probably has an IMDb list pages and pages long.
Ooh, Stanley Tucci would be a fun roll call.
I almost put him on my original list.
Might have to add him to our maybe list. Also, Ralph Fiennes, we already kind of mentioned him, but I mean, this is a big deviation from him, like in terms of types of movies that he was in and even continuing like what he has typically been in. And then, do you want to fangirl a little bit over young Tyler Posey?
Well, I think you said it first. You're like, oh, that's the kid from Teen Wolf. And weirdly, he looks the same. He looks like the child version of his adult self, which not a lot of people can say that they do. I feel like I don't look very similar to what I looked like when I was 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Thank God. I'm sorry, younger me. I love you, butterfly clips and all, but orthodontistry is a miracle worker, thank God. But yeah, Tyler Posey, very notably for Teen Wolf fame. And the reason why I thought he was younger is because Teen Wolf came out when you and I were in college, and he was a college age kid playing a high schooler, but somehow in my mind you just kind of think like, oh, they're in high school, they're a lot younger. He has broken off to do a couple of other films kind of with the cast similar to Teen Wolf or Pretty Little Liars. He's been in Truth or Dare, and a couple other kind of like, he was in like when MTV readapted the Scream series, but made it into a television show. He was in that. So he is cute. I think Tyler Posey is pretty cute.
Did you watch any interviews with the cast? And I saw like there's some press junket stuff.
Yeah.
he has a lot of things where they're like, oh, this movie 10 years later, revisiting this movie. And there's footage of Jennifer and Natasha and Ralph and Tyler talking about the movie. Yeah.
Oh, it's so cute when we get to the interview part of it, like the way that some of the press strung it, there were some from like E! News, and they start with interviewing Jennifer Lopez, and then
Mm-hmm.
like behind her walks in Tyler, and she's like, "Oh, come on in." He's wearing this cute little like Hurley t-shirt. This is so
Yes.
2002. And like and they're just like, how do your friends feel now that like you've been in a movie with Jennifer Lopez? They're like, wow, you got to be in a movie with J Lo. She's like, what'd you call me? He's like, Jennifer. I mean Jennifer. It's very cute. Like they do have a very good mother and son relationship.
Yeah.
I felt that chemistry between them.
Yeah, and I think in that interview, she mentions that she picked him and that she noticed he had this really natural way about him. And like you mentioned earlier, it seems like he's just really being himself, not really acting in this
Yeah.
movie. And honestly, I think that's, unless the role really calls for more, I think that's the best way for child actors to approach roles and stuff.
Yes.
I was just gonna say, unless it's like some super dramatic role, like My Girl or something.
Damn, you had to take it there.
It was National B Day the other day, and I
Oh
saw a
my
meme
God.
that was like, it's National B Day, and it was a picture of Macaulay Culkin, and I forget her name, but and My Girl. So I was like, ooh, that stings. No pun intended.
My God, the disrespect. I've seen those memes too of it's like, I don't know where my childhood trauma came from, or I don't know why I'm so depressed. Like, what was my childhood trauma? And then they cut back to the trauma, and it's like, he doesn't have his glasses. Anyways, I was just gonna say, like, kid acting can be such a fine line between good and cringy. It's a very, very fine and difficult line to walk.
Yeah. Here's
I,
looking at you, Gracie / Tessa from Enough.
yeah, yeah. It's fine. I don't know. I think we're just so used to like when I think of like quintessential kid actors, I just think of every single Disney Channel TV show that we've seen or Nickelodeon TV show where it's just so over accentuated and so annoying. But, he was fine. He was fine. He did what he did. But you're right. Like Ralph Fiennes, this was a very different role for him to play. He is, us millennials, I think, know him as Voldemort, but he's done like he who must not be named. He is, or he is a classically trained British actor.
Yes.
When I think of like old school actors, he's someone who comes front and center to mind. And like Michael Caine, like someone who does a lot of stage acting and like very classic serious roles.
Yeah. And I just want to say, I read a few interviews later in his career where he kind of shits on Maid in Manhattan. And
Oh, dang.
So on Hollywood.com, it said Ralph Fiennes has criticized movies like his hit rom-com Maid in Manhattan for being designed to sell. And another quote is like, when asked what his most challenging role to date was, the star of award-winning movies The English Patient and The Constant Gardener joked, it was Maid in Manhattan. Which, like, zing. Like, I don't know if JLo's sending him Christmas cards anymore.
Well, I think he said that because it was really out of his comfort zone. And, I don't want to spoil too much about like the interview part of it, but even JLo had said that romantic comedies, in her opinion, are some of the hardest roles to play versus something that's more dramatic because you can like put yourself into the shoes of a character where they have to go through something really traumatic and really like bring out your acting skills and kind of like be someone else. But then when you're being someone like when you're being just a regular person,
Yeah.
that's almost the most like very difficult to do.
Yes, I saw that too. And so I commend her for making that
Yeah.
clarification and statement because
Yeah.
I do think that's true. I think it's easier a lot of times to do things that are heightened, whatever it may be. And it's like, okay, I went to school for art. A lot of people will look at abstract art and be like, my 2-year-old could do that, or like something very simple, like and minimalistic as like a square or something. And it's like, yeah, it looks simple, but to like dumb down your mind enough to like let go of like some of the training you've had to like make things look realistic, or like Picasso's or stuff Dolly and stuff like that, like to make things look as you see them and to venture away from that. Like that takes a lot of imagination, and it takes a lot of like restraint to not go there. And I think that's the same probably with acting. It takes a lot of restraint to not overplay something that should be really simple. But I think it's funny that in another quote that he does point out that, you know, people asked him like, oh, when are you going to play something lighthearted? You always play dark, serious types or bad guys. And then Maid in Manhattan came along, and then he said, I enjoyed making it and have huge respect for J-Lo, who was, I think, terribly good in it. But that sort of light comic thing is probably not my strength. So I respect him for saying that it's not his strength and not necessarily completely trashing just the whole movie in general. There are some actors who totally do that, where they like make a movie and they're like, yeah, that was shit and I hate doing that movie. But it's like, homeboy, you cashed the check, like, and you showed up.
Or
Like,
they're just self-projecting their personal opinions on their performance rather than stepping back and looking like, okay, it was a fine movie. It's just not for me. And props to him for stepping out of his comfort zone and being like, you know what, I'm gonna give this a shot and I'm gonna try it. And I think that's an important life lesson. Like, you never know what you're going to be good at until you do it. So, kind of like this podcast, you know?
I still don't think I'm good at it, but I'm going to keep doing it.
Shut the fuck up. You're great.
So, in other news, let's talk about Jennifer Lopez's performance.
Yeah. I think compared to the other romantic comedy movie that we've seen, Made in Manhattan, and Wedding Planner, comparing these two movies together, her character is, I guess, similar in the sense that they're perfectionists in what they do. They take a lot of pride in their work. I would say Jennifer Lopez's character in The Wedding Planner was a lot more like atypical and scheduled down by the books. Whereas Marissa Ventura was a little bit more relaxed, and you know, she was also a single mother. She had like different dynamics to her. So I like the fact that her characters were different from each other. I thought her acting was fine, and I didn't actually look up if anyone else was considered for her role.
I did.
Who?
Very well. Who? You'll never guess.
Sandra Bullock?
Yes.
Are you kidding?
Yes, Sandra Bullock was again considered for this role. And that's when, so John Hughes wrote the original script for this movie, and then it was rewritten. So that's when he was attached to it. And then also, allegedly, Julia Roberts got it really early on and turned it down. And also allegedly Minnie Driver, which
I could see that.
Which I guess Minnie Driver also was possibly considered for The Wedding Planner. So I think it's a little disheartening to hear that Jennifer Lopez keeps kind of lucking up on these roles that these, I'm just going to say, these white women don't want, instead of being pursued. Like, I would think at this point in her career, someone would be like, oh, I want J-Lo in this movie or something. And, but I don't know. But I just thought it was interesting again that like Sandra Bullock was like the one they wanted and then pulled out or whatever. And then, and good for J-Lo, because like she's picking up some dropped gems, but I want that for her to be like, yes, I wrote this with Jennifer Lopez in mind because I just think she's amazing.
Totally. And actually that gets me thinking, I don't think we've ever seen a movie where Sandra Bullock and Jennifer Lopez are together, like co-starring, but I would love to see them together.
Ooh, yes. I mean, we've kind of talked about this, how it's like, how is Jennifer Lopez should have been in like the all-female Oceans movie. That would have been amazing. And
Missed
Sandra Bullock is in that movie. She's the head of that movie. And it's like, like, Sandra, maybe you should turn that down this time because J-Lo deserves to be in that movie.
Well, I also think of like one of Sandra Bullock's most iconic movies that I don't know if you would count this as a rom-com. Maybe it's just more of a comedy, but Miss Congeniality. Great movie.
I think it's a rom-com because it does have a romance aspect, but it
but
leans
maybe
comedy.
It leans comedy because it's not focused on the romantic piece, right?
Yeah.
So with Miss Congeniality, I was just thinking like, how would that movie have been if Jennifer Lopez was the lead? Because she's played cops and detectives before. She could be like very hard and be like a hard ass and like not like pretty, but not very feminine. Rewrite!
I feel like they low-key are pretty interchangeable. Now that you've said that, I'm like legit thinking about like, I think J-Lo could have been in Speed. Like,
or Crash.
Crash.
Right?
I don't think I've seen that movie.
That was also Oscar movie. It was the one where like everyone was in it and their stories all kind of intertwined.
Oh yeah. I don't think I've seen that movie.
My favorite. Okay. Yeah.
But yeah. Like,
yeah.
I'm just, I think J-Lo could have been in Miss Congeniality. Now, totally. I do think that Sandra Bullock obviously is really funny and does have really strong comedic chops. But I think J-Lo, like the consummate professional she is, would have risen to that challenge.
Okay, so Sandra Bullock was in that buddy cop movie with Sofia Vergara, right? Or no, that was Reese Witherspoon.
You mean the one with Melissa McCarthy?
No, there was one with Reese Witherspoon and Sofia Vergara where they were like buddy cops.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that.
Okay, all right, cut that. But then I was just thinking that both of them would be pretty funny. And a buddy.
The Proposal? J-Lo could have been in that.
Oh, The Proposal was funny. Ryan Reynolds, yeah. They had good chemistry.
Bird Box?
Jennifer Lopez was like, no, I'm not wearing a blind.
Gravity? A Latina in space? Yes.
Oh, yes.
And the Latina in space might be insensitive, but like, yes. Okay, so this is
Hot
my
Pursuit.
New...
Yeah. It was
my new discovery, and I'm sticking to it. Hot Pursuit. That sounds familiar.
That was the one with Reese Witherspoon and Sofia Vergara.
See, I don't buy either of them as cops. Like, who thought that was a good idea?
I don't know. I didn't see it.
Now, that's what you call a cash grab. Like,
seriously.
Put that on my watch list. I also think, honestly, I was thinking about this heavy too. I was like, because Oceans came out in 2001, I think we mentioned when we did
Out of Sight,
The Wedding Planner.
Yes, that too.
I think Jennifer Lopez, because of the great chemistry in Out of Sight, I think she would have made a better Tess in Oceans than Julia Roberts. Because I love Julia Roberts, but like Jennifer Lopez has that written all over her again. Like, it's just like trophy girlfriend and like ex that like I need to get back. Like, so okay, I'm stopping with this tangent.
No, I can see it. I can see it. I'm still wrapping my head around like the interchangeable piece of it, but they've been in very similar style roles and movies. I would just like to see them together. And I have never read if they've had beef. Because I feel like in our research thus far with Jennifer Lopez, that would have come up.
Yeah, no, I think Jennifer Lopez gave up the the beef aspect of beefing with actresses after that interview. So
Oof. Yeah.
yeah, I would, yeah, studios hire us. I think we're on something. Sandra Bullock, Jennifer Lopez, buddy comedy.
Have you seen that South Park episode where Cartman is dressed up as the robot Asimo in like a cardboard suit and he like pitches movies, but they're all starring Adam Sandler? I feel like that is us, and we're just
But
like,
Jennifer Lopez.
what if Jennifer Lopez and Sandra Bullock are together in a buddy cop movie?
Yes, just saying. I don't even know how we got here. We were talking about her acting.
And we were talking about, was there anyone else considered for this role?
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
But on that note, I think Jennifer Lopez does a great job in bringing this role to life. I don't know. I think the original script I read, John Hughes, obviously he's a Chicagoan and a lot of his movies are based in Chicago. So his original script was to be in Chicago, but it's been in New York. And I think obviously with Jennifer Lopez being a New Yorker and being from the Bronx, like that part of that real, I don't know if they ran with that because of her, but like I don't see Sandra Bullock as a maid either. Like
I could see her as a maid, but I'm wondering what the like quote unquote social justice piece of it would be, because when they're out on their little walk in Central Park and she's kind of quizzing him on some of the stuff that that Chris Marshall wants to campaign about, and he's talking about like housing and the projects and stuff, and she said some, having lived or living in the Bronx and her son going to most likely a Title I school, talking about politicians and dumping money into education and just kind of like putting their money where their mouth is kind of thing. Like I'm wondering how that would have worked with a white actress if they would have done I don't know like what their angle would be, but you know, I liked that part of it. I liked that she was hella wicked smart and said a lot of insightful things to help him come to his own conclusions about the error in his ways as a politician. And yeah,
I agree. How do you feel? Because now that I've said that I don't see Sandra Bullock as a maid, I just want to clarify, I don't either see Jennifer Lopez as a maid. Like,
no, for sure.
If this was being ran past me prior to this movie being made, I'd be like, what? But I know that obviously I read this great article actually about whether this movie would be made today. And I was like, wow, two people who think like this. And they made some great points. But obviously a big part of this is stereotypical of a Latina woman being a maid. Absolutely. And even, I mean, there were some white maids within like, you know, in the background when they would have their meetings and stuff. And then there's Black ones as well and other Latina maids. And I want to say like her best friend seemed Italian.
Yeah.
So it's not like Devious Maids, like the TV show where it's like all Latina maids. But what was my question?
Well, and that like the people in the managerial roles were white.
Yeah.
You know, like, and then the Natasha Richardson's character and her little side buddy, they kept on messing up Marissa's name. They kept on calling her Maria, like, you know,
microaggressions.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Oh my God. I wanted to punch her friend. I mean, Caroline Lane, I feel like she's like one of those white women who like will start doing that stuff because her friend is doing it, but she's not doing it as heavily, you know? But yeah, like they were just annoying as hell. But yeah, like I was kind of thinking about it, and I was kind of surprised because Rita Moreno has infamously talked about like how trying to stay in the entertainment industry, you have to take like these very stereotypical roles of these certain type of characters. And thus far, Jennifer Lopez has not really played like a stereotypical Latina character. She hasn't been a maid in anything before. I would say My Family might be the most, but even in that, like that movie is a very strong Latino story and movie.
Yeah.
So
That and Blood and Wine, I would say, was like her
oh
most
yeah, she was a
stereotypical.
nanny. Yeah. But you would think that at this point in her career, like she might be like above playing a maid.
Sure.
And so in a way, I think this was an interesting choice for her to take this on and kind of make it, I don't want to say different or okay. But
well, she kind of put her personal twist on it, right? Like I wonder if
yeah.
she had say by or had any choice in her character about being from the Bronx and being like outwardly Puerto Rican, and being proud about that. And she had said in some of her interviews about like growing up in hotels and knowing maybe not that life as a maid, but just having some unstable income growing up and coming and having to live in the hotels, like knowing that hard working aspect, that hotel employees do. And, anyone working in that kind of service industry gets treated like shit. And, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they have to deal with so much.
They have to deal with a lot. And so did Jennifer Lopez's character. Like there were some uncomfortable things, like when her and her friend walk in on that guy who was, I don't know if he was masturbating, but he was clearly naked, and it's like, oh, sorry, I didn't know someone was coming in, but like he wanted to be caught.
Yeah. And then like there's that whole montage of like she comes into work and the guy who's watching the monitors, Keith Thompson, and she's like, what do we got today? And there's a guy naked outside of his room. And she's like, wait, he's like one of my dudes, like one of the rooms I'm taking care of. And then you have like the guy who's having the affair, but his wife is coming, and you have to like manage like the comings and goings of rich people and their problems, and even her, even Natasha Richardson's character asking her to like do this favor for her, and she goes to the department store, and this bitchy ass like sales rep like won't help her because she's busy on the phone gossiping. Like, yeah. So I think they did a pretty good job in concise job of kind of showing that aspect of things. I think obviously we're in an age of entertainment where we have media that kind of does a lot of deep dives into very specific realms of stuff. And if someone decided to do that about hotel staff, I'm sure there are great stories to be dived into there. But I think for this movie and this plot of it, like they did a decent job showing her world of it all.
Mm-hmm.
So this role isn't like super, I mean, not to say that it's not hard to play this role, because we already went into that like whole, it's hard to play something simple, but there wasn't like too much risk, like in terms of like acting choices or like the character and the background and stuff. So it's a pretty simple character and story. I did like their meet cute, I will say. I thought
liked this
special.
meet cute actually better than the wedding planner. Yeah, I felt like that was a little bit more realistic. And at least Chris Marshall wasn't engaged and was fucking hiding it. Like, screw you, Matthew McConaughey. That part I remember really, really bothered me. Like, why would you not just get that right off the bat? Even if you had doubts about your engagement and your marriage, like, you gotta be honest and upfront, man. So that always bothered me. But at least, like, as a politician, yes, he was like constantly in the press and And I remember asking you out loud, like, I can't remember a time where politicians were making like front news, like it was paparazzi. So that's why it kind of made sense when I was reading more about the movie when they're like, he's most likely a Rudy Giuliani type where he was like that
I thought
big.
they were going for like a JFK type.
Yeah.
JFK Jr., sorry.
Yeah, that makes sense since he's coming from like a political dynasty of like having to live up to the expectations of those before him and his family. That makes sense.
Yeah,
But at
he's
least
young. They care about who he's dating.
totally, totally. So to me, I like their meet cute that like she was in this nice dress and but you know she brought up that point later on. She was like, I saw you on my like the day before I cleaned your room. Like she walked in on him taking a piss. Or sorry, she didn't walk in on him. She was like fixing up the bathroom and he
Yeah.
walked into the bathroom to take a piss and she's like, "Oh God." Like gets up and walks away and like makes a little commentary on the sizing there. So sounds like he was maybe packing something, but like she was like, "You didn't recognize me then, but you recognized me when I'm in a Dolce & Gabbana suit." So
Yeah. Which, I mean, I feel like people definitely recognize people in service positions now, especially if you're hot. Like, I mean, it does not matter, but there are definitely differences in seeing someone in a really nice outfit and seeing them in their work clothes. Like, but I mean, speaking of that, let's talk about like the outfits because those are like hallmarks of this like kind of Cinderella story where she wears the white Dolce & Gabbana outfit and borrows it before she takes it back. Like that is such an iconic look, I think, from this movie.
Yeah.
And it just looks so well. And Jennifer Lopez wears a lot of white in real life. So she always looks good in that kind of color. But it it just seems so classy. Like it really elevates her compared to like the outfit she's wearing when she's going into work, which is like a simple like cardigan and a sweater and some corduroys or some jeans or something. And you know, it's not very it's very pedestrian in a way.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not it's not anything to write home about, but like this outfit is like, ooh. And then later we have the scene where she goes to the like gala thing and she borrows like it's kind of very How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days where it's this really beautiful dress and then she borrows this really nice jewelry and she just looks like amazing. Definitely borrowed from the J-Lo glow of her red carpet looks because she's just like all dewy and like beautiful looking. So
yes. I thought that she could have done something different with that do. I think that with a strapless dress, it would almost look really nice if she had maybe like a half up, half down, like a half ponytail kind of look. I didn't like the top. I mean, don't get me wrong, and I'm not saying she looks ugly, but just with the big, maybe it's because like the jewelry is the talking piece. The pink dress is beautiful. And the jewelry is like, whoa, really front and center. So if she had her hair down, it would have been hiding it a little bit better. So she probably wanted her neckline open. I don't know. I just felt like something a little different could have been better. What are your thoughts?
yeah, I mean, the hair did feel very like prom-esque or like
Yes.
wedding hair.
Thank you. Yes. Prom. Yes.
But yeah, I think because of the jewelry and stuff, like you do have to have some kind of an updo. I think it could have been less of a very like constructed perfect updo and maybe like more loose and wavy or something and not so put together. But when you said half up, half down, I of course think of the green Versace dress.
That's
or
the
like,
style I was kind of thinking of.
Or like in Selena when she's wearing the red outfit and she has like the high pony. And so I love J-Lo in a half up, half down. Or in Love Don't Cost a Thing in the video. in the beginning, she has that hairstyle. I'm trying to think of any other red carpet looks that
Well,
hair wise
she was
might
kind
have.
of wearing the same style in the premieres for this, even when she was at the premiere for The Wedding Planner. Maybe I've just seen her in this kind of hairstyle so much that I was maybe wanting something a little different. But don't get me wrong, she was absolutely stunning.
Yeah. You're like, JLo, give me a break. Give me something different.
Give me something different. Even if it was a pony, but like a loose kind of pony that could have been draped over her shoulder. I don't know.
I'm trying to look at her. For Wedding Planner, she had a bun. It's
Yeah.
typical JLo bun.
Yeah.
But this is like a huge bun. Like, this is what.
It's a huge bun. Yeah.
That's like a small bun. Yeah. And I think part of that is because this isn't her typical everyday, So, like, for someone who doesn't go to galas all the time and stuff like that, in their mind, that's probably their answer for like, how should I do my hair? And it's like, oh, it should be like this really classy updo. So yeah, that's my guess. That's my best guess. I do like this ending too, in comparison to The Wedding Planner. The Wedding Planner is kind of like very open ended. And this one is very like feel good montage of like, oh, she gets to be a manager and she's on the cover of these non-existent
magazines,
service industry magazines.
I did like that. I think it was just the cheesy like, I'm coming up, I'm coming.
I love that.
The freeze frame with all of the different pictures is very funny. But even like, and again, this airs on the side of the fact that this is a comedy with a romantic twist to it. We have like Stanley Tucci in like a dog magazine because he
yeah,
the joke of having to walk
Rufus,
the big Weimaraner dog. But yeah, I liked the closure piece of it, that they did end up making it, and they get like 1 year later, still strong, still in love, and it was cute.
yeah.
I'm not mad at the ending.
I low-key would have wanted to see a sequel. I would have paid money for that. Like, and the sequel could have been them like getting married or something. And I don't know, something happens, but I'm a sucker for a happy ending. And then I'm like, I want more. Give me more of the happy ending.
And I felt so bad because, and so, okay, here's the commentary that I'd like to say about just the movie in general, as we are trying to like kind of, wrap up this episode. This movie came out a year after 9/11. One thing that we noticed, the intro shots of New York were of a twin towerless world. And you had said something like, people just wanted something easy coming down off of this national tragedy, but in a, more of like an American focused tragedy, that people just wanted movies that were feel good, they were easy. I mean, it kind of makes sense when we look up the movies that were coming out that year and the movies that were Oscar nominated following 9/11 were pretty lighthearted. We don't get a lot, and I might backtrack and look this up and totally need to recorrect myself, but I don't know. I'm just thinking that like people wanted something light. And Natasha Richardson had actually mentioned that in one of her interviews for a press junket. And she just said, we need a lot of laughs right now, living in these very serious times. And after, because you had said that comment as these movie credits were scrolling, and I was just like, I'll be fine if I never see that again. And you were just like, well, okay, listen, we're coming down off of this. We're like picking back up the pieces again after a post 9/11 world and like figuring out things, and it was very tense. And so for that, I do agree that this movie is lighthearted. You get what you get. It's feel good. The ending's funny and silly. I will still be okay if I don't see this again. But like I'm not gonna go away. I'm not gonna go out of my way to see this again, as I would go out of my way to see some of the other movies that we've previously watched and will also watch together in the future in this Jennifer Lopez saga and series. But yeah, I don't know. I think that this delivered in a lot of aspects of what the people wanted and what the people needed for this time. And for that, I am thankful.
I respect that idea. Because I am totally, if this is on TV, I'm watching it. If someone else wants to watch it, which I don't think I've ever. I think this is one of those early 2000s rom-com. And I will say this is like a part of a big, not series, but like a resurgence, because like 2 weeks notice, we mentioned that earlier, but also this year you have Sweet Home Alabama. I feel like there's another one I'm missing. But yeah, like at this time, and I don't know, I'm not sure when How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days came out, but that's an early aughts rom-com.
Mhm.
At this time, like those movies are very much like alive and doing well. And yeah, I think for a lot of people, they're nostalgic and they're fun and they're easy. And in some ways, like they're what young girls watched and was like, "Ugh, I'm still waiting for like my meet cute," and I've been lied to by these movies, but we still very much love to watch them and get our hopes up. So I take it that you're not. Are you would you have watched this in theaters or rented it? You said earlier you would gravitate towards like Anaconda or a horror movie instead, but
I don't remember if I saw this in theaters. And because the fact that I don't remember that, because I have one of those like not photographic memories, but I just have one of those weird things where I'm like, I remember, like I often have like memories attached to certain things. But I definitely remember watching this at like a sleepover, whether it was a birthday party or what. But if this came out today, if this movie was remade, I think it still holds its own in today. Um, I'm wondering if like the plot with I think just given in this like very political time that we've been encountering the past 4 years, I don't know if it would hold up that like she would fall in love with a politician or a politician would be chasing after it. I don't know if that kind of circumstance would hold up, but yeah, I don't know. I think depending on who is in the movie, I think I would go see something like this again. Or like if you and I were kicking back at a sleepover and this was suggested, I'd watch it.
okay, fair enough.
Might not be my first choice, but I'd say
Yeah,
okay.
I so I said that I had read an article and it's on the ringer.com about if this movie could get made today. And their approach to this idea of if movies can get made today is like offensiveness and stuff and points and a point system.
Sure, sure, sure.
And so in their point system, I think Made in Manhattan like got a 30, and in their scheme of things, like if you get over 50 or something, then the movie most likely can't get made today. I think, like you said, in terms of getting remade in the political climate that we're in and stuff, like I think a lot of stuff would have to change in terms of the political stuff of the movie and race and stuff. A lot of the microaggression, well, the thing about that though is that stuff happens. So I feel like you
Totally.
really shouldn't take that stuff out, but like using it as a comedic device. I think they mentioned like when you do that, it's like when you narrow it back down, it's like, well, in a way you're laughing at something that shouldn't be laughed at. And it's like, that's kind of gross. So I think you have to rework the way you present those microaggressions, you know?
Yes.
I know I was cringy, but I'm cringing like hearing some of that stuff. I'm sure in theaters and at that time in 2002, like people were laughing at those like bad racist jokes.
Yep.
I don't know that I would change either that the maid is Latina either, because like part of me is like, I get like people of color, definitely we don't want to be stereotyped and we don't want to be pigeonholed into these specific type of roles and stuff, but like there are people who do live those lives, so it is too important to tell those stories as well. So in my mind, I feel like this isn't a negative portrayal of that either. So Marissa's she's very capable. She's very intelligent. She is pursuing a higher position and wants to, and is being pushed that way. So I don't think it's like painting her in a negative light in that regard. So I think it would be fine to like still have her, you know, be Latina. Yeah. Obviously cast somebody who isn't as serious as Ralph Fiennes. Like,
I know. If we were to change, let's redo this movie, everything's the same except for Ralph Fiennes. Is there someone who you could my first thought was Patrick Dempsey. I'm just thinking of like someone that is not
dreamy.
I don't know, because I don't really think McDreamy's all that hot. I'm just
yeah, me neither.
Thinking of someone who, but like would have been considered a dreamboat, because Ralph Fiennes, I think, is charming. Because I remember asking you, I was like, do you think he's hot? And we kind of like skirted around the answer. He's for sure balding and had thin hair. And I think he had some kind of like wig or hair plug situation.
Oh, he's like bald now. Like,
for sure. For sure.
So I have an answer.
Go ahead.
People out there don't hate me. Simone, don't hate me. Ben Affleck. And I say that, hold the phone. I say that because so when I said that, like, I feel like this is supposed to be a JFK Jr. type person. He is exactly like kind of like, he looks like a JFK Jr. type.
We need a preppy pretty boy.
Exactly. So, and like, also, I did not buy that Christopher Marshall was American. Like, he still felt very British. So it's like, how the hell are you a politician?
I know. I mean, but I think that was just Ralph Fiennes. It's hard to like keep the accent up, you know, and like just the mannerisms too.
I mean, yes and no, because I've learned of so many British actors who I didn't fucking know they were British. And I was like, I feel betrayed. They do American accents so well. And it's so hard for us to do the opposite. So part of me is like, I think he could have done better. But maybe he wasn't into it at the time either. But yeah, we need a preppy, pretty boy. And I think Ben Affleck, I mean, clearly he's the sexiest man alive that year. I think this also might have boded better for Bennifer over Gigli and Jersey Girl, since those movies are heralded as like huge bombs for them, and like seeing them in this romantic comedy, although it might have like still made their romantic life such a big thing, because people are like, oh my god, they're so cute in this movie, and like I just love them. So, but yeah, that's my answer. I'm trying to think of someone else of similar cloth that might be a pick that is not Bennifer and Jennifer Lopez adjacent. Who else has like played preppy assholes? Like,
I mean, okay, so Bradley Cooper has played a preppy asshole, but I don't know if he was like kind of too young still. I could also see, I mean, in the same realm, I know these three people get lumped together a lot, but like Matt Damon and Josh Hartnett. I'm just
I
thinking
thought
of
Matt Damon because of Ben
Heath
Affleck, but
Ledger. But Heath Ledger, I mean,
mm,
Heath Ledger's too much of a bad boy. I just can't get him out of my mind as someone that would have.
George Clooney.
I mean, I was gonna say, but he'd be
They should have just
good.
did more movies together. God damn it! Ooh, I wonder if you do go British, Charles Shaughnessy from The Nanny. I don't know if he can do an American accent though, because obviously on The Nanny he is just British. But
Yeah. Well, I think what worked for Ralph Fiennes is that he's a bit older, or maybe just looked a little bit older in this role. I think he looked like he had maybe at least 5+ years on Jennifer Lopez.
yeah,
And so George Clooney, being the silver fox that he is, I think as a politician makes sense that like he would look or come across as a little bit older rather than someone who was like too young and naive. I think a Ben Affleck or a Josh Hartnett would have been too young for this role.
Josh Hartnett. Yes, I think Ben. It would have just seemed that they were similarly aged, not that he
Yeah.
was like younger than her. All right, well, Ben Affleck's my pick, I guess, and I'm sticking with it.
What about Paul Rudd? Because you have seen Paul Rudd in this.
Ooh, I love Paul Rudd.
I love Paul Rudd.
I don't think this movie is of his speed. I feel like,
Yeah.
but I do. I love Paul Rudd. Would him and Jennifer Lopez have had good chemistry?
Maybe Richard Gere.
Jack Nicholson?
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Colin Firth, maybe if we're thinking of British actors who could play someone that could be a politician. But yeah, I don't know. Jude Law could work. Oh God, I think Jude Law is so hot.
But see, I mean, what the fuck? It's all these British actors.
I know. I know.
Maybe like we think being a politician like is somewhat inherently British because they're very poised and already, whereas like American actors, like we might lean towards like, oh yeah, they make a great bad boy or pretty boy or like hot guy.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
like Brad Pitt. I was thinking about him and I'm like, yes, but like no.
I couldn't see him in a rom-com personally.
Yeah.
But I could see Jude Law, I could see Colin Farrell, I could totally see Ben Affleck. But I'm just also thinking of people who are like hot, like not, I mean they're still hot now, but like at the time very popular. Ethan Hawke.
Curveball.
Okay.
Kind of curveball.
Okay.
Will Smith.
Okay. All right. What made you pick that? I'm not poo-pooing it. I'm just I want to know what your thought behind it was.
Well, I'm looking at a list of rom-coms and he was just in one. But I'm thinking I think Will Smith's very versatile and he would be way funnier than Ralph Fiennes. And then I think obviously I don't think we see a lot of like Black Latino love stories.
It's
and then
true.
I feel like we don't see a lot of Black politicians in movies that aren't super heavy.
Yeah.
Like Selma's and stuff like that, very civil rights leaning. Also, we didn't know about Barack Obama, but like I'm imagining him as an Obama-esque type of like game changer type of politician. He has the ears for it for sure. But yeah, like, and I think they'd look good together. I think Will Smith looks good with mostly anybody, and he could definitely match Jennifer Lopez's hotness.
Okay.
And then the political aspect of it, you wouldn't have such like a disparity. Maybe they would relate more because of that. And he'd be like caught off guard by like, he thinks she's this rich woman, but she's from the Bronx and in the projects. And he's like, wow, like I grew up in Brooklyn and I grew up in the projects. And that's why I'm a politician now. And they connect on that level. So I think we just got a movie. But
I see it. Well,
yeah,
Maid in Manhattan did make Vogue's top 100 best rom-coms of all time.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's high praise. That is high praise.
And they actually put that above 2 weeks notice. So sorry, Sandra Bullock and suck that.
Now I want to
It's
watch 2
above
weeks notice.
I know, me too. And it was also above How to Lose. Actually, I don't know if these are like in any order in particular or if they're like going back in time. But okay, but actually I don't know if I can take this list with a grain of salt because Beauty and the Beast made it, and like that's not.
But I could see why they would think Beauty and the Beast could be in that. Like, it's not a comedy, but it's like a romantic, like.
It's romantic, yeah. There's parts where you laugh, yes. But I don't know. I don't think of like, I don't know. Okay, so this, I'm like rubbing my eyes vigorously. This is the next follow-up question then. Would you consider a animated Disney movie a rom-com? Would you put that in the category of rom-coms?
Off the top of my head, no, because I feel like rom-coms are live action movies.
Uh-huh.
Even though they're remaking a lot of Disney movies into live action. I mean, so if you get rid of that criteria, Mulan is low-key a rom-com. Like if I'm just saying, if the Mulan remake stuck to the original, it would qualify for a rom-com.
You're right. You are correct.
Also, your favorite Little Mermaid, that is total rom-com
How
behavior.
to Get Your Voice Back in 3 days. It can. I'm like,
exactly.
If you guys can see my face right now, I'm really struggling with this concept because I feel like it's like when I ask the question, is a hot dog a sandwich or would you consider cereal a soup? Because when you think about it, you're eating ingredients out of a bowl with a spoon. You can think of it like a soup. And now I can't unfuck my brain and think about animated movies being counted in the category of romantic comedies, and I really wish that I didn't look at this list because I'm gonna have to go to bed early on this one because I'm not ready.
So you just would you rathered yourself to death.
I did just would my rather, but that also overrides my original would you rather.
Oh no. No.
Stanley Tucci or Ralph Fiennes?
Stanley Tucci. It's easy.
Okay. Good girl.
Julia. I mean, that movie, he just seems really romantic and loving. So, yeah. And then, Stanley Tucci. We don't. Yeah, we don't sleep with Dark Lords over here.
Unless you're Bellatrix Lestrange, unless you're that weird girl who goes to Hot Topic to get all of the Slytherin shit.
Yes, we're Voldy. Nah, he's not getting it. Even in Maid in Manhattan. So.
That's right. All right, Bria, wrapping this up. Did you have any snacks or cocktails to pair with this movie?
Oh man, no, I did not think of anything. I'm going to cop out and say I would order some awesome ass room service a la Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone 2. And probably along with that room service, I'm popping some champagne.
I like it. That has one of my favorite movie lines of all time when the like room service butler is scooping out a sundae. He's like, "Would you like 2 scoops, sir?" And he's like, "2, make it 3. I'm not driving."
Yes.
Which is
the anticipation for you to finish that line.
How I live my life is like 2, make it 3. I'm not driving.
Yes. And when I said a la Macaulay Culkin, the ice cream is definitely what I was thinking.
Yes.
So
yeah.
Ice cream is in this.
Yes.
And I'm in a terry cloth bathrobe. Like. All right. What about you? Because you're usually the cocktail aficionado.
I like how we're both aficionados, which we didn't even talk about. Like, there was not a spicy enough sex scene. There was an implied sleeping together after the ball.
Yes.
but nothing spicy enough for our
Yeah.
resident sexy
I thought it
aficionado.
was very appropriate. And I think most rom-coms don't have very visual sex scenes besides like The Notebook. But well, and on this list, Love and Basketball is on here. But
Oh, yeah.
for the most part, they tend to lean very like implied instead
Yes.
of like going through the motions. So I thought this was good. I thought they had believable chemistry in a way. And J-Lo looked very pretty.
My cocktail for this choice or for this movie would just be a classic Manhattan cocktail, which I've had for the
Ooh.
first time thanks to Kevin's family, because that is his family's specialty cocktail at all family gatherings. His grandpa, whom they call Papa makes like a really good Manhattan. Now, I've never had a Manhattan up until like 2 years ago, so I don't know what a good Manhattan is. But in Papa's Manhattan, it is bourbon, sweet vermouth, and a little splash of grenadine and a maraschino cherry over ice. But I know more like cocktail snobs out there will have they wouldn't fuck with maraschino cherry. It would be like something a little bit more nicer. But the Densburgers are no frills, folks, and I really love that about them. But I remember when I had my first Manhattan, I don't fuck with like bourbon or whiskey. And so when I took a sip, I was just like, I gotta drink this fast. Otherwise, I'll have to like commit to it. And I would do that thing where I'd take a sip and I'd make a face like, like I would try and put on this poker face that it like was not killing me inside as it was like burning and going down. And I drank it, I would say probably rather fast, like I guess within 10 minutes. And they're like, whoa, Simone, you already finished your Manhattan. I was like, I just want to be done with it. Please don't make me another one. Because my social anxiety is not going to take a sip and be like, oh no, I don't like this. This isn't for me. Like I'm going to be polite and I'm going to drink it because it was served to me by an elder, and you must like, we were raised to respect the elders. And so I was like, okay, I gotta drink this. I gotta commit to it. Anyways, that would be my drink of choice.
Snack?
I didn't pair a snack with this, and I'm sorry.
That's fine. This movie doesn't really have food in it either.
I know.
So.
I like your idea of room service though, like getting some really nice room service.
Yes, champagne and Manhattans and some room service.
And when we say room service, we mean ice cream.
And French fries, probably. Truffle fries. All right, so wrap it up.
Let's wrap her up.
Well, as always, thank you guys for listening to this week's episode. And for all you ride or dies out there, please come back for another episode of the great value version of Inside the Actor Studio.
But seriously, if you all like us enough to stick around, take another deep dive down this IMDb rabbit hole with us as we take, yet again, another small break from movies next week to introduce the official couple of Bennifer and J-Lo's next album, This Is Me, Then, to which we need to get to before her next two films, which will also star Ben Affleck.
I'm so excited. And on that note, if you've got nothing better to do, go figure out a theme to watch a bunch of movies you've never seen.
I'm your host, Simone.
And I'm your host, Bria, and this has been another episode of
Roll Call.
Poist. Post-coital poist.
She's moist. She's moist. She's coming out of that coist. I don't know. Please get that.